Okay, let's talk about the zones and the Mandela effect. Okay, so you know how they say, oh, it's a universe in everything, or it's a universe inside you? That's really true. That's really true. We're a universe inside of an object, and this object is inside of a being, and this being is God or Goddess. The objects that we were in and that we are in, I'll talk about. We used to be in a cake, then in a shoebox, then we were in a toy box, which we don't talk about the toy box, and then we were in a snow globe, which we dropped to earth. We incarnated in the snow globe, or when we dropped to earth, we incarnated in the snow globe. But now we are in a bubble. We're in a bubble now. I know y'all probably heard stuff like, oh, we're trying to break the dome. You hear the government talk about how they trying to break a dome or something. That was the zone before the bubble. They were trying to break out of it. But now we're in a bubble. And what I mean by that, they were trying to break out the zone, meaning they were leaving the atmosphere. They were trying to leave the atmosphere. And you're not supposed to do that. Why don't you think we have more people going in space, or ships or other countries trying to get in space? Why do you think America is the only one that's really trying to get in space? We're not supposed to go out there. And we in the in the dome, right, in the snow globe that we were in, that was a flat earth. Why some people remember a flat earth, or they think they came from a flat earth, or they think this is a flat earth. We used to have flat earths in the toy box. The toy box had flat earths in it, which we just called them constructs back then. We all were in that globe, the flat earth globe or the snow globe. We were all in that globe. Hence the reason why it was called a snow globe, hence the reason why Earth is called a globe, or was labeled as a globe. Okay, so all the zones are catching up with each other, and us catching up with time. We were all in a different zone. We were all scattered in different zones. Some of us was in the current zone, which is the bubble. Some of us stayed in the bubble. Some of us was in the some of us was still in the toy box. Some of us was still in the snow globe. Some of us was in the bubble. So this is where the Mandela effect come into play. The people from different zones is catching up with them right now. Like, I feel that it's barely anybody in the snow globe zone. Do you feel me? It's barely anybody over there. It's only regretful people left. Okay, so Mandela explained the people from the flat earth are the ones that create what we know right now as our Mandela effects, right? Okay, so these people might have, back then, in that zone, in the flat earth zone, or not the flat earth zone, but the snow globe, in the snow globe zone, they might have made something back in the 90s, an image or a logo, but when they get to the current stage, which is the bubble, them owning or still possessing that company or that logo or that image, they might want to change it or tweak it a bit, right? When they get to in that zone, they tweaked it in that zone, that they were in, right? And they know they did. They know they changed the logo, or they know how it was before they moved, right? They know it. And then when they get into the new zone, they shift and they lose all track of what they did. And they lose all track of what they did in the what in the snow globe. They lose all track of what they did in the snow globe because you get mind wiped each shift. Each time we shift zones, we get mind wiped. It's like incarnating. We don't die, or yeah, we don't die. Death is just an illusion, but we lose track of what we did then in the past zone. These people lost track of what they did in the past zone, and us being in the bubble, some of us that noticed this Mandela effect been in this bubble, and we're like, hey, I remember it being like, no, some of us that's coming from that shift from, yes, okay, so some of us coming from that shift from the snow globe, a lot of us came from the snow globe, right? Some of us was already here. A lot of us came from the snow globe, and we're like, no, I remember this being like this because this is how it was when I was a kid. And the people in the bubble was like, well, it's always been like this. You know what I'm saying? That's the Mandela effect. Okay, so, and the cake, the shoebox, the toy box, the globe, and the bubble are called timeline eras. They're called timeline eras. And I'll probably make a video more explaining that stuff later, or the timelines later, but they're called the timeline eras. And they're tied in with the Mandela effect, and they're tied in with the metric system or measurements. The metric system or measurement system is in 5s and 10s because it's the scale time moves in when it stamps to date a new zone. You get it? So the metric system is in 5s and 10s, but so is the timeline. To calculate proper time and go back in time, don't go back in time, but to calculate proper time and to go back in time, you use the metric system or a scale that's in 5s and 10s. It's a scale that's in 5s and 10s that I'm learning about in school, but I can't actually remember which one it is, so yeah. Before the bubble was created, or when the bubble was created, which is the current zone or the current timeline, it clocked the past timeline or the snow globe. It clocked the snow globe 5 years and 10 months after it was created. So the bubble was created, but before the bubble was created, they time stamped the day 5 years and 10 months before. Do you get it? But yeah, I really hope that made sense. I really hope I explained that well. I'm sorry if I didn't. If I didn't, just keep rewatching the video and maybe you'll get it. But yeah, that's the Mandela effect explained. Now, the Mandela effect about when, oh, I know this person died back then. We don't talk about stuff like that. We don't talk about stuff like that. We just don't talk about stuff like that. But that's called something totally different. It's not a Mandela effect. That's just something totally different. But yeah, that's the Mandela effect explained.